Hello and welcome to my skip only Silver Snow Maddening tier list. So, skip only is a rule set where instead of doing battle, explore, seminar, or rest, you are forced to skip. And under this rule set, skipping causes rest, but it prevents manual instruction. So, you can't get budding talents. You can't assign group tasks after time skip, so you miss out on economy. Uh, Money is tight in this rule set. Resources are scarce. It's extremely difficult. On average, it takes like 2 to 4 of your units to kill a single enemy. So this is definitely a high scrutiny rule set. There's very little room for error. You can't feck. You can't. I was about to say feck up. You can't mess up unit planning. You have to know what your units are going to be. You have to know farms. You have to know map tactics. You have to know every little thing about every little advantage you can squeeze out. So, all right. So to begin, let's start with Byleth. Byleth is definitely S tier in this type of run, 100%. So Silver Snow is a Black Eagle run, but then you lose like your Lord. So in that case, Edelgard is an easy D tier because you just lose your Lord. So investing in her at all means that she's stealing XP from other units and you don't get to use her. So having her do anything for any reason is just objectively bad in a Silver Snow run, especially one under this much scrutiny. So you just don't give her experience at all. Same thing with Hubert. You just can't feed them experience. You lose both of them mandatory. Like, you can't do anything about it. Ferdinand, he's definitely good. He's definitely at least an A. I would say he's an A. I would put him in S if his damage was higher, but his passive is ridiculous. He has plus 15 to hit and avoid at full health, which, if you're playing this game remotely correctly, your dudes are usually at full health. So he just basically has plus 15 hit and avoid at all times. And combine that with Swift Strikes, and you have an accurate, 8-move Kanto unit doubler that's consistent. Linhardt, I'm going to put him at C tier. All right, so common consensus, or the average, so the general consensus of or the general opinion about Linhardt is that he's like the best healer because he has warp. In this rule set, warp is useless. It almost does nothing. It's literally just worse than rescue. There's a few reasons why. The first reason is you're not going to one round a single boss in this playthrough ever. It's not happening. You don't have enough stats. You don't have stat boosters. You can't min max that well outside of grinding for like you can barely get your class masteries in this type of run. So you're not going to be swimming in money and relics and XP. You don't have saint statues. So your units are going to be underleveled as hell. Very few of them can one round an enemy, let alone a boss. So the whole upside of one rounding a boss is terrible. And even if you could one round a boss, you're denying your entire team level ups by doing so. So even if you could do it, it would be bad, but you can't. He has pretty low magic. By the end of the game, he was like level 20 because I just stopped using him. And for a good reason. Like, I didn't just stop using him so I don't like him or something. It's like there was a map where I needed Shamir. I actually stopped using Flame. I just had Dorothea. I had no healer, like no dedicated healer. And I needed the damage, and it worked out. I think it's chapter 18. Chapter 18? Yeah, chapter 18 with attacking Hubert and the Death Knight. I needed Shamir for the Gambit, and it worked out. So that plan actually worked. But he just doesn't bring enough to the table. He doesn't have Fortify, which you don't need Fortify, but it helps you level up. And his magic is weak. Like, he has low magic. He can only warp something like 4 tiles at level 20, which is very bad. So he's actually just worse than Dorothea, who's a high damage mage, who also has Physic. And she has Thoron and Meteor. And if she just equips Thoron or Meteor and then just keeps healing and physicking, she can still maintain linked attacks while also healing. Because when you use heal, it doesn't equip heal. And when you use physic, it doesn't equip physic. So she can just have Meteor equipped the entire time, and she's just constantly boosting your party's accuracy, which is massive because your accuracy is a huge problem. But that being said, I actually regret investing in him. Completely. Like, if I were to do a Silver Snow run again, I would only use him to heal things that need heals, and I would stop using him time skip, like legitimately. I actually would have preferred to have invested in Flame more. There were missions I didn't run Flame and I ran Linhardt, and she didn't hit Gremory as quick because of that. And I think that actually hurt me in the long run. So in this type of run, Linhardt is like objectively really bad. He doesn't bring anything to the table that, like, she can physic, which is better. She has 6 rescues, and her rescue range is better than his warp range. And one of the key things for like a skip only run is breaking down enemy positions, which usually entails sending an 8 to 9 mobility Kanto unit forward. Like, you shove the unit, you have another unit shove it, it pushes, it attacks something, it tries to come back, and when it can't come back, it needs rescued. So rescue is better than warp in this type of run. And there's no debate on that. Like, it's like you get 6 of it, you can break down more, you can break down 6 enemy positions, whereas with warp you can break down 2. So there's really no upside to him at all in this type of run. Every single map that you can farm, you have to, and every single map needs routed. So warp does not really help you in this rule set. In LTC, yeah, he's better because he has warp. However, in this rule set, he's not that good at all. Caspar, honestly, I'm putting him at S tier, and I'm not doing this because I like him. I'm not a Caspar fan. I don't love or hate him, but he fucked shit up this entire run. He consistently did really good damage. He was my most consistent Brave Axe dude. Like, he had really good strength. He had okay speed growth. He had enough strength to consistently one round like almost every level with Brave Axe, and he was just killing shit constantly and tanking hits. He has high max health. His passive is slept on. What it does, and I tested this, is it gives Caspar accuracy ring when he hits in melee. And what it specifically does is when he's next to a thing, it has -10 avoid. That's what his fucking passive does. So if I'm fighting a monster, if I'm fighting a boss, if I just, like, you know, even if he hits, like, let's say there's 2 enemies, enemy A and enemy B. Caspar one rounds enemy B, and then you just park him next to enemy A, and it could be like an assassin, a swordmaster, a Pegasus Knight, something with high dodge rate. Now you have linked attack from him having the Brave Axe, and you have the -10 avoid because of his passive. Other units benefit from this. Caspar is an accuracy ring for your team when he stands next to things. It's pretty fucking sick. And when you combine his passive with Ferdinand's, you're looking at +25 hit just from being at full health and being next to something. This dude is fucking sick, and he's like really cracked. Like, he just fucks shit up. And honestly, I think people really undervalue him as a unit. I didn't overfeed him either. He just naturally leveled up high because of his high strength and just smacking shit with axes. He was like level 37. A lot of my other physicals were like 34 to 36, so he wasn't too far ahead of the pack, but he was like about as good as Byleth, objectively. He was kind of like one of my lords. He was pretty fucking sick. Bernie, honestly, I'm going to put her at B. All right, I understand Vengeance build. I've used it myself. You can't fuck around too much in this run. You could put Bernie at low health and have her run around and use Vengeance on shit, but you can't burn through durability that much. You really shouldn't. I think Vengeance is -5, right? Let me look this up. 3 houses. It's either 3 or 5. Might be. I don't think it's 4. Let's see. Vengeance. 3 houses. What does it do? Oh, -4. Okay, so it's -4. So that's not bad. But having her at low health, there's a lot of siege tomes, there's a lot of siege weapons, there's a lot of Pegasus Knights, there's a lot of things that can hit you out of nowhere. Having her camp low health means that if she just randomly gets picked, I have to use a pulse. And these maps take 2 to 3 hours, so I'm not going to fucking sit her at low health. I'm not doing that. That's crazy. That's just fucking crazy. I'm not doing that. Now, her passive is good and it boosts her damage up, but her low strength growth and the lack of strength boosters, which can easily be acquired from planting planting purple seeds under a normal run with Monastery, which does make her an insane unit, made her kind of subpar. Getting her hit safely was a difficult thing, legitimately. Most maps, you don't have enough time to set that up. Most maps, it's just like immediate pressure, you're surrounded. So getting her hit in a way where she doesn't have a crit chance, like there are so many cases where I wanted her to get hit so that she could start dealing more damage. But then enemies had like 5, 10, 15, 20% crit on her. And if you've played Fire Emblem for any amount of time, if you're 2 hours into a map and something has like 5% crit on you, you're like, I'm good. you don't take those risks because it could crit, and then you have to waste a pulse. And then if you waste a pulse, you could lose the map if you run out of pulses. So if you just keep risking her getting crit, it just doesn't work out. There's very few enemies she could safely attack that could counterattack her to put her even just at like minus 10 health. Most things counterattack and put her at like 10% health, which is not good. And arguably that could set her up for vengeance, but these enemies also crit, so I just avoided it mostly. It was just too much of a liability. Under a normal Maddening run, vengeance is crazy. But under a normal Maddening run, Bernie just being, you know, like just existing is just good. Like she's just a good unit. But in this run, I'd say she's B tier. Early on, she was kind of good, but then late game, she fell off hard. The enemies just get way too crazy. Her damage just couldn't keep up. Other units were just way better. Dorothea, I'd say she's A. Dorothea's a solid A. So she does everything. I think she's underrated too. But I mean, I think lately a lot of people put her at A. She has Meteor. Meteor is one of the best abilities in the game for a few reasons. The first one is that it's an AoE attack that you just get to use. And the other thing is that it has like insane range. Another thing is that sometimes it just one-shots things. Like if you're doing a normal Maddening run, usually Meteor can just one-shot an enemy siege weapon from like a mile away, and you don't even have to worry about it. It gives her linked attacks from across the map. Thoron gives her linked attacks from across the map. If you just get range +1, she gets tons of linked attacks. She can poke monsters for free, which I made use of in the final chapter. She just kept poking monsters to like crack tiles, break armor, deal damage safely. The range +1 is insanely huge. Thoron is insanely good. Physic is really good. She has high charm, so she can hit gambits pretty consistently. She's just a good unit. She's really solid. She brings a lot to the table, and she's actually my favorite mage. I prefer her over Lysithea, because while Lysithea can one-shot a lot of things with like Luna and Dark Spikes and shit like this, Dorothea typically can one-shot things as well under a normal Maddening run, but she also has Meteor, and Physic, and Thoron, which is very nice. But definitely an A tier, at least an A. Maybe almost S, but she's still a Gremory, 5 move, no Canto, so, and no Thyrsus. If she had Thyrsus, like, she'd be moving up, but you can't get Thyrsus in a skip-only run. It's just not possible. Petra, I would say she's A. Consistent dodge tank to some degree. Usually doubles things. This was probably one of the worst Petras I've had. I've had much better Petras before. I think she just didn't get that many strength level ups, but she's usually pretty good. She's usually pretty solid. Yeah, she's just a good unit. You can make her a flyer. I could have made her a wyvern, but you want to have some units on spears because you have to basically plan your team around using swords, spears, and lances. And the reason for that is swords are for your lord because you're going to be an enlightened one. You can't test into anything else really. Maybe War Master if you make a male Byleth or something. But you're going to be using swords. Like enlightened one is just really good. It's really good. You have recover. You start off, you get heal, kind of like midway through the game because of the way that skip only works. But you can poke things with Nosferatu to conserve uses against like armor. It's just a healing damage dealer with good stats. It's 6 move. It's decent. But you want spears because you can get a brave sword, a brave lance, and a brave axe from the store. It only sells one of each. So you want a unit to be able to use each one of these. And then you also get like Lance of Ruin from getting Sylvain, and we'll talk about him in a second. But solid unit, pretty good. Does what you want her to. Just usually doesn't die because she avoids stuff, so she's actually really good in this way. She just like dodges stuff. It's pretty nice. All right, so we did get Sylvain because female Byleth can recruit Sylvain. I would say he's an A tier too. I would say Ferdinand is better because of the accuracy. He got Death Blow and Strength Thrust too late because of like bad planning on my part. Sylvain got it before him, so he seemed better, but it's just because he had Death Blow earlier. But they're like he's the more accurate of the two. Their strength growth is similar. His charm is usually slightly better, but I think he's a better unit than Sylvain by far. The accuracy and avoid is just so disgustingly good. But the Swift Strike bros like really put in a lot of work in this run, more so than Bernie. Like these carried their weight more so than Bernie. Okay, other units that we got. Seteth, I would put him at A. He's definitely not S. I would say he's like here. Maybe a little bit better than Petra this run. Or no, he's worse. He's worse. He's worse. Because she was good the entire run. He took some time. I had to get him Brigand. I had to get him Strength +2. I had to get him a few things before he was remotely good. What is this? Oh, that was just sent out. Okay, sorry, there's just something that popped up. Okay. Okay. So he takes some time to set up, but when you do set him up, he's like an A tier. But before that, he's just okay. He's not like the best thing ever, but he's solid. He does good damage. You need to get him Focus Strike. You need to get him on bows immediately. Bows are just good for the accuracy. One of the big problems in Maddening is just hitting things. So like in some of the videos, I was getting really tilted because like dudes were just missing all the time, like missing 70s, missing 80%. So that does get annoying, but you have to deal with it. You know, it's just part of Maddening with the skip only, because you can get hit +20 in normal Maddening and you're just never missing ever. But bows are really good because curve shot almost never misses. It's +30 hit. It's ridiculous. So let's get him on bows, get him Focus Strike. He does okay. Still not as good as... Actually, he's much worse than Sylvain. Swift Strikes. You know, he has Swift Strikes too, but I made him a Wyvern Lord. You need Flyers. Flyers are good. Okay. Flame. I would say she's higher A tier, to be honest. Just because Rescue helps you break down positions so effectively. It's stupid. In a normal Maddening run, you can power level Flame and Mercedes to be like 10 to 20 levels higher than everyone if you just keep using all of their healing spells on auxiliary battles. You can get them to like Grummery before, I think, chapter 8 or 9, maybe even as early as 7. Not her, though, Mercedes, because you get her in chapter 6, so you don't have enough time to power level her that much. But Rescue really makes this run possible because it allows you to break down positions safely, and that's the key thing. Same thing with Meteor. You can Meteor an enemy and it pulls them. So hitting a thing, getting it to go attack you, extremely useful. It's always useful in these types of runs. I wasn't able to use these. Catherine, I would say she's like here. If I could get her earlier, she'd probably be S tier, but she's like here-ish, maybe. Around here, I'd say. It takes a while to get her set up. You get her halfway through. That definitely factors in. But once she gets online, she's pretty solid. And she just starts smacking things with a sword, and it's good. Shamir, I would say she's like B. A little bit worse than Bernie. It takes forever to get her like online, and just like look at these units. Like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units deployed on most 9 to 10 units deployed on most maps. That just leaves her kind of just, you know, no strength +2 yet, no death blow. She's kind of just sitting on the bench. If you could deploy her, you could, and you could get her to an A tier and she'd be online earlier. But Bernie is way better than Shamir because you already have death blow, strength +2 on her. She's already on the flying unit. She just starts out of the, like right out of the gate. She's much better. So the fact that it takes so much time to get her online and these other units, like you get Sethith at like he's like level 27 or something, and she's like level 22. It's just not even that. You just can't compete with that. It's just too much. What else? Who else is there? Is that everyone? Schmear, Blaine. I think that's everyone. Just gonna make sure. I don't think you could recruit any of these. Oh yeah, you get Cyril. That's right. I almost forgot. Cyril. I don't know if you could get him online fast enough, but I made him a guard adjutant, so I'll just put him in B tier. You just get him on. You just make him only train on armor, and then you have a guard adjutant, and then he's still useful. So this is like the tier list for a skip only run, based on what I've experienced. Now, if you want to make an argument that Linhardt should be higher, I'd like to hear it. But keep in mind that at level 20, he had 4 warp range, and he was not getting magic level ups. And there were specific reasons why I stopped running him. I'd rather have 6 rescues than 2 warps. And there's just like Fortify is insane too, because like let's say in order to kill a group of 5 enemies, 3 of your units have to get hit. Fortify solves that positional problem because like let's say there's another wave of enemies coming. Linhardt can't deal with that. He has no Fortify. So how is he going to heal all those? You can't one round things in this run. There's very few units that can one round. So having a dude who can only single target heal is a huge liability. Having something that can board heal and pull things out of danger is way stronger than having something that can put things in danger or just reposition a single unit at best, if I'm being generous, 6 to 7 tiles. And even so, that's like, even if he was like level 30, what's he doing? Poking things with physic and then warping twice? Like it's just not good. It's not good in this type of rule set. So as for the rest of them, these are objectively like these are like can't used here. XP waste. So like these you shouldn't even use these at all. And what you can do is you can just have them learn faith so that they can heal. So that way they're not stealing XP. So that if you're just out of heals, because early game you run out of heals, that's kind of what I did. Put them on heal. They'll level up once or twice. I killed Hubert on purpose as a meme because you don't get to use them. So who cares? Like you can just die. But most of these units are quite strong, and even the ones that aren't. She needs strength boosters. Vengeance is just too risky to use. He takes too much to get online. Like I don't think you can get him into flying fast enough to make him a wyvern, so he just becomes a guard adjutant. And then she's just competing with all these other units for deploy slots. So that's why she's like of the two, I'd rather have Catherine. Now Catherine, if you get her early, you make her into like a Falcon Knight or a wyvern, and she's ridiculous. She has insane strength growth. So if you get her early, she can get some insane stats and be an S tier easily. If I was able to get her by like chapter 3 or 4, which isn't possible in this run because you can't recruit church members early, unfortunately. Can't recruit Manuela or Hanneman either. If you were able to recruit Manuela, she'd probably be like in B, like probably like here, and then Hanneman probably similar because it just takes some time to get them started. Hanneman actually might be really good in this type of run if you could get him on chapter 6. If you allowed a single monastery to get him when he's first like recruitable. The reason why he'd be good is because he has meteor. So like, you know, he has good magic growth, he has decent stats, he's another meteor, so 2 meteors. She gets bolting, but it takes an insane amount of effort. I was able to get her bolting on an almost skip only run where I allowed like 2 or 3 monasteries to unlock saint statues. I got her bolting by chapter 18. So make of that what you will, but it's a nightmare to train this chick. in reason, like it's not easy. So yeah, this is the list. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this or found this interesting. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of these are pretty solid. And Caspar being S tier, like you might be surprised by that, but watch the run. Like you just see him messing shit up the entire run. There's never a moment where I'm like, wow, Caspar sucks. Like he's just always fucking shit up. Like he's an insane wyvern because he gets hit plus 10 for free and he can give it to your allies. But it's not even just that. He has really good strength growth. And that is the number one most important stat in Maddening is strength and also magic, but more importantly strength because most units are physical units. So strength is like the number one most important stat because that's how you kill things. So him getting high strength, like a Brave Axe doesn't care if you're 30 speed or if you're 10 speed. It's always going to double at minimum. And you're not quadding things unless you're like Petra with Darting Blow. And she's like the only thing, she is like the only unit that could double most things. And then I could sometimes double with Byleth with like a training sword against like low level enemies, but eventually I stopped being able to double anything. So like brave weapons become your only way of doubling, so speed stops mattering because your speed's never going to be high enough. So then your swift strikers, brave weapon users, they just like pick up. They become much better. She comes with a brave sword. You get 2 brave swords. You get one as a drop. You can buy one, and then you get Thunderbrand. So you get 2 brave swords and Thunderbrand. So swords become really good. And under intense scrutiny, weirdly enough, swords are actually pretty strong. A lot of people say swords suck in this game. I just don't think that's true. If swords suck so much, how come I'm able to beat these like really difficult runs, running users or running like, you know, Sword Byleth the entire time? And it's not even like Sword Byleth sucks. It's like I can one round a lot of things with Sublime, whatever what's the ability? Ruin Sky or no? What the fuck is it called? Sword of the Creator ability, whatever it's called. But yeah, it's like Sword Byleth is legit. And if people say that it's like subpar, it's like, well, if you're playing Maddening that swords are subpar, it's probably already too easy. So do skip only and reevaluate. So I would just say that. But yeah, this is the tier list, and then this is if you could recruit these. So theoretically, he could move up if you get him early. He would be like maybe A. Hard to say. His passive is basically useless because he has reduced growths. Um, you can only get these early. Him early might be good, but I think he lacks supports. She has a strong support with Dorothea that actually increases their damage. So that's actually really nice. She also has silence and she has warp. So in terms of what I would actually rather have Manuela than Lindhart because she has silence, she has ward, which allows you to tank magic better, which actually is useful for tanking like meteors and boltings and shit. She has ward, she has warp, and she has silence. And then if you can get her reason up, she can get bolting. And then you can have 2 units that have quite a few linked attacks and also siege weapons. And she gets 4 boltings and she hits Gremory. So if you can just get her reason up, even like in a normal maddening run, you can get her reason up. And I would say she's much better than Linhart because she also has warp. She doesn't have physic, but let's be real, like unless you're doing speed run shit, like physic isn't the best spell ever. And usually your Kanto units can come back to catch a heal if they need it. So, and I've proven that by, putting myself under intense scrutiny doing these runs. So, physic is a little overrated. Warp is definitely overrated. When you put things under scrutiny, you kind of reveal their true like value. And I think Lindhart under scrutiny did not pass the test. And then, funny enough, Caspar under scrutiny is like insane. He's like insane. Now this is for this run. And the overall metagame, he actually still might be good. You have access to more crazy battalions though, but the -10 avoid passive is really good, and his base strength was pretty good. His strength growth was like solid. He just consistently one-rounded and accurately, because it's not enough to one round. If I have a brave weapon and I have lethal damage with 65% hit, that sucks. If I have lethal damage with 80 plus hit, that's good. And that's what he had every map. He had lethal damage or near lethal damage. He was constantly one-shotting things with like Ukon Visara, with Brave Axe, with Silver Axe and Combat Arts. He was able to one round from full health like mages and archers with Silver Axe. He's pretty fucking strong. Like he's really good. If this was a normal run, he'd be like level 45. He'd be one rounding everything. So yeah, pretty sick. All right, so that's the list. Only 2 S tiers because this is just the same thing. This is just let's get him out of here. So this is the list. So we have 2 S tiers, mostly A's, some B's, a C, and then can't use. So yeah, thanks for checking this out. Definitely like and subscribe, and I'll see you in